All right, another new month, November 2021. This past month, I had a close call where I almost relapsed into my binge slash addictive eating ways that had caused me so much social strife uh, back in 2019, right before the pandemic. In the past, I've lost jobs over it. I've lost relationships over it. My most memorable binge eating experience was one time when I missed out on a job application. What had happened was that on the day of the interview, I was going to go to a local grocery store to get my favorite food and then head right to the job interview. I knew where the store was, I knew where the interview was, but I got to the grocery store and they were sold out. And I went to another store and they were sold out. And then I frantically searched for other stores in the area, and I used to have a hard time snapping out of what I wanted to eat. Right, I don't seem to have that problem anymore. I very much appreciate having something to eat. Right, I live in a country where even having something doesn't have to be a conflict. Right, because look at what's happened over the last year and a half, 2 years. Right, even being able to go to a store without risking getting ill is becoming something we shouldn't take for granted. Right. Anyways, I went to a third store to get my favorite food, and then I got lost in the directions, right? And I don't know if that's the only reason I didn't get that job, but it certainly doesn't help, right? And also, I used to get into major disagreements over food. One of my favorite examples is that I would go to the grocery store. I used to have this favorite frozen meal, Amy's. There was a cafeteria that you could sit down in with a microwave. This was before COVID. You got to remember when you could actually do that, right? That's almost unimaginable to do here in 2021, right? So you would get frozen meals and then go to the cafeteria, heat it up in the microwave. Now, when I use the microwave, I prefer to keep a social distance from the microwave. I've heard stories about radiation leaking out. Who knows? It doesn't hurt anyway. Besides, the noise kind of bothers me anyway. So I'll sit down. There's a room with this TV, and I come back, and I discovered somebody has interrupted the microwave. They open the door. You know, it always strikes me as odd. If they open the door and they see it's in use, and they're not even going to bother using it, why not turn it back on, right? If they were in such a hurry and they took your food out to use the microwave, at least I could understand why they did it. And it used to anger me so much because I would be prepped up to eat and my mouth would be salivating like crazy. And nobody would ever admit that they were the ones who interrupted the microwave. It got so bad that one time I thought about turning on the microwave and then setting up a camera where nobody would see it, right? And seeing if I could catch who did it, and then go confront them or something like that. But I thought better of it because I didn't know what would happen if I confronted somebody and say, "Hey, look, you're on camera." I used to be very angry about I don't like confronting people. Don't get me wrong, but I was angry about the not being able to eat when I had anticipated eating, and a situation like that caused me, I hate to mention the exact details, but a situation that started just like that caused me to get banned from a grocery store when I was living in New York City. I've come a long way from that. I haven't run into that situation for many years now, but that's the kind of problem I run into. I lost a job over craving issues like this as well. I was at another school, and we were getting ready for a staff meeting for a course that we were preparing. I was just about to get to lunch. I had heated something up in the microwave when my manager was like, why don't we start the meeting like 30 minutes early because everybody is here. In retrospect, I could have said, I haven't eaten yet. In retrospect, I could have. But this guy is somebody who has a lot of drive in him, right? He feels like the engine of the whole office. I need to learn not to let anybody become such a big force, right? I think I didn't set proper boundaries with him. I had an intense craving during the meeting, and I totally bombed the meeting. And I left the job in such a, I happened to have another offer lined up that very same week. But I left the job in such a hurry, and I never apologized to anybody. And I was still dealing with food cravings. I didn't want to apologize at the time because I worried that if I run into the same problem at the new job, I'll really embarrass myself then. I wanted to address the food head on. Now later that same semester at the new school, I ran into another problem. I had a student who decided to show up to my office hours early, interrupting me while I was eating, and I was trying to rush him out the door, and he threatened to drop the course. And see, I started answering him because I thought he had a very short question, but when I realized the question was much more involved than I had anticipated, I got angry because I wanted to get back to dinner. And I tried to rush him out the door, and he said that this was only the second day of class. He's already running into this much trouble. How do I drop the class? And somehow he didn't drop the class. He ended up getting a B in the class, but I got a very bad evaluation that semester. I don't know if he wrote it. They're anonymous, but logic tells me that that's the one worst thing in that whole semester that I did, right? I had a lot of beautiful interactions, except for that very first one, right? And first impressions usually last a long time, right? And so I got a bad evaluation. But he stayed in the class. He's on track to graduate at the end of December this year. And if it's safe to do so, I hope to attend his graduation ceremony. And then I traveled to Macau for a conference, and I was miserable the whole time there because I couldn't find anything that I liked in Macau. I thought at least I could find one of my favorite seaweed snacks, or the other problem was we didn't have our own cooking facilities there. And going to a restaurant is tricky for me. I gotta ask about various ingredients, and not that I mind doing that, but it's a lot less mobile, right? You can't crave something and just and deal with it right away, right? You have to tell somebody about your restrictions, and then sometimes they mess up. You're prepped up to eat, and the food comes out incorrectly. This is a huge mess. I had a lot of strife when I was in Macau over stuff like that. And so that's when I woke up. So on January 1st, 2020, I made a resolution to normalize my relationship with food. And I thought the first thing I should do is to learn how to live life outside of food. So I went on a 48-hour fast on New Year's Day 2020. And I've gone on many 48-hour fasts since then, at least a handful. Probably take me more than two hands to count how many times I've gone on 48-hour fasts since the beginning of the decade. Now, I had thought that I had gotten over the worst of it, and then 2 weeks ago I got a wake-up call. I had gone on my regular 22-hour fast and was just about to break it. I had already started breaking it when the phone rang. And I looked, it's my boss's number, and I picked up the phone, and in retrospect, yes, I could have said, could you call back in 30 minutes? Yes, I know I could have done that. But, I have had bad experiences doing that. Sometimes 30 minutes later, the contract he was going to give me has been taken, or he can't talk, and it's going to be another week. Sometimes 30 minutes later, the whole dynamics, the dynamic of the whole situation can change, right? I've learned that when your boss is ready to talk and you don't take it, the same talk might just not happen again. So I answered the phone, and I didn't think much of it because it had been a long time. I didn't even think about the possibility of having a food craving. I was so removed from it. And I learned the danger of being too removed from your past addictions, right? Once an addict, always an addict. Now, that doesn't mean you'll always have an active addiction. That just means that you can't remove yourself so much from it that you allow yourself to get into trouble again. I answered the call, and the whole time my mouth is salivating like crazy. He wants to give me a new contract for writing this course on machine learning. And I got the contract, but in retrospect, the conversation could have gone a whole lot better if I didn't allow myself to sink so badly into a food craving. So I hung up the phone and I redoubled my efforts. I decided to. I looked at my Facebook feed and I discovered that Evelina Falenta, one of the few celebrities that I actually talk to regularly, it was her 42nd birthday. She was the second place runner-up of Polish Idol season 1. I wish she would have won though. I want to see what would happen if she competed on World Idol. I like her because she doesn't let being single get in the way of her professional life. And so after what had happened with the conversation with my boss, I decided to go on another fast to redouble my efforts to learn life outside of food again. And so I went on a 42-hour fast. I think that's the longest one since... When was the last time I did a multi-day fast like that? June... oh no, I did one for the Nixon shock as well. And then I did one for 9/11. Yeah, so it had only been a month, but I let myself get too removed from the idea that I could have an intrusive food craving. I knew that this is something that I had to pay attention to and be on guard, right? Just like you can never be removed from... Some people get too confident with their driving and they get into an accident on a very familiar road, right? All of my car accidents happen on very familiar roads, actually. I never get into a car accident when I go on vacation. It's so weird. Same thing with bicycles, right? I sometimes when I travel to Taiwan or the Netherlands, sometimes you can rent a bicycle. I never get into an accident there. But when I'm on my familiar, Redmond Trail, or back when I was living in Rochester, that's when I'd get into serious problems, right? And sometimes getting comfortable with your diet can feel like that, right? You never want to get too removed from it, right? Treat every day like it's another day of healthy eating, right? Another day where you'll be in control of your food, right? I've learned to wake up and tell myself, today I will be in control of my food. Today I will be in control of my food. When I go to sleep, congratulations, I stayed in control of my food today. Congratulations, I stayed in control of my food today. So anyways, that's why I went on 3 fasts in the space of one. I call it, 3 multi-day, more than 24-hour fast, right? I did one for Evelina Falenta's birthday. I did one for a personal anniversary, and then 2 days ago I did one for Arabic idol Diana Corazon. Her birthday, she turned 38.